I'm done. I'm done with DSLRs for good. Full-time mirrorless, and I'm gonna tell you why. Okay, listen, before you go unsubscribing and calling your friends and telling everybody what an idiot I am, and keep your comments about you're crazy, the D850 is the greatest camera ever. I agree with you 100%. The Nikon D850 is hands down the best camera I've ever shot with. I've shot the D4, I've shot a lot of other cameras that are fantastic, but I'm telling you, when it came to just pure taking pictures, the Nikon D850 is fantastic. That's the bottom line. There's nobody that can argue that at all. Autofocus is good, the colors are amazing, incredible resolution. You can crop from 45 megapixels down to 20 megapixels. So basically you have the D850 and the D500 all in one camera. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So no arguing any of that. But let's talk about the why. Why did I sell what could be considered one of the greatest wildlife cameras in the history of cameras? Well, the only thing that's changed is me and what I do. So the Nikon D850, I'm gonna show you a couple of images here. I'm gonna show you a couple of videos. The autofocus for photography is fantastic. No one is ever gonna argue with that. However, when you switch to video, which I did often in the field, I would have to back away from the camera. I'd have to hit the live mode at the bottom right switch. I would have to manually focus the lens on what I wanted to see because the autofocus was horrible. I had to do focus peaking to make sure that I'm in focus, and very often by that time the bird had flown away and I missed the entire opportunity. So what you don't see in some of my videos is that I'm shooting with the Nikon D850. I see that there's an experience unfolding. I take the camera, the Z6 that I'm doing my video with, off the stand. I put it on the 600 millimeter to get the video of the experience that I'm having, and then I switch back to videoing with the Z6. I put it back on the 24-70 lens, and I put the D850 back on the camera to start getting pictures again. That is a huge pain in the behind. I don't want to do that. So I performed a little bit of an experiment. I wanted to know what really is the difference between the Z6 autofocus system and the Nikon D850. Magic of video, I'm at the house. I'll give you 3 guesses why I'm at the house right now, and the first 2 don't count. You're right, the battery died. And I didn't have a backup, so that's typical on my part. I'm just batting 1,000 right now for not bringing batteries. I gotta get my act together. So that being said, before I go on and on about how amazing the Nikon Z6 is and I don't need the D850 anymore, that drives me nuts. The battery does not last long at all. And I think that's kind of a theme with mirrorless cameras. The DSLR, the Nikon D850, I could get 1,500 shots out of it all the time. It would take me sometimes 3 to 4 days to get 1,500 shots out of that camera. This one, I do video on it for 25 minutes and I take 50 shots and I'm done. I gotta go recharge batteries. So that's it. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, that is the biggest downfall to mirrorless cameras. So let's go back to what I started with when I was out in the woods. And that is this little experiment that I did with the autofocus. People go on and on about how atrocious the Nikon autofocus is. I tried the Canon R5. I'll put a link to the video here. It is fantastic. I cannot deny that that is some crazy autofocus science that's going on. I would focus in an area where a bird was, it would figure out that the bird was there, and it would start focusing on it. How it knew the bird was there, I have no understanding of that, but it did it. However, if you have been doing photography for more than 5 to 6 years, you're probably like me in the sense that you use a single point or you use a group autofocus mode. I never turned on that full-time autofocus or the 3D autofocus on any of the Nikon products that I had. I would do single point, I would do group, I would compose the shot with that autofocus point, I'd put the point on the subject, and I would snap the shot. So that being said, I treated the Nikon Z6 exactly like I would any other DSLR, and I got good images. I had no problem with the autofocus. Now, was it as fast as a Nikon D850? I can't quantify it. Sometimes I have trouble focusing with the D850 depending on, whether I'm looking through trees or brush or things like that. Did I have some of the same problems with the Nikon Z6? Yeah, of course I did. However, shooting into thick brush, tons of trees, leaves everywhere, I was still grabbing focus on very erratic, tiny little birds. Now for birds in flight, I looked high and low. I was looking for some great opportunities. I didn't want to go to the park and do the basic seagull test, so I went down to the local watering hole where there are black-necked stilt, avocets, things like that, hoping that I'd get some of them flying into me. No luck. Tough night. Birds barely came by in front of me. But what I did get an opportunity to photograph are those little sandpipers and the northern barrellope, or whatever you call them. Those little guys would run 90 miles an hour through the weeds towards me and away from me. Nikon Z6 did just fine. I do have to say something though about looking through that electronic viewfinder. There were many times when I thought there's no way that I got that shot, because the electronic viewfinder still plays with my eyes a little bit. That blinking that happens, I don't even know the word for it. It's kind of those little blackout times where I think that the image is not going to be in focus. I completely missed it. I would take a moment to review the images, zoom into it through the viewfinder, and I'd see that it was perfectly sharp. So kudos to Nikon on just the single point in the group mode. I didn't even try it with the full-time autofocus system. Can I say anything bad about the Nikon Z6 autofocus? I don't know. I can't find anything that I don't like about it, except that it's not the R5 and it's not the A7 S3 or R3 or whatever Sony's newest thing is. They release a camera like every 30 days. It's good enough for me. Before I go any further, I want you to understand that this is all for me. You've got your needs as a photographer. You've got your needs as a videographer. I've got my needs. One of my needs is the fact that I own F-mount glass. I own tons of Nikon glass, and I can't afford to replace it. Some of you guys might be rolling in the money and you can spend $1,000 every week on a piece of glass, or $10,000 on a new lens, and then the next week another $5,500 on a camera. All power to you. That is fantastic. I'm not that guy. I have to make financial decisions. So the Z6 is where I'm going to stay. You can leave all the comments you want about how I need to switch to Sony and Canon. I get it. All right, let's talk about the next plus, and that is ergonomics. I don't think anyone that addresses the pluses and minuses of the Nikon platform, I don't think anyone gives Nikon enough credit for their ergonomics. Something I noticed within the first week of shooting with the Z6 is that all of the controls are on the right hand. That's huge for a photographer. Something I could not stand about the D850 and a lot of the other DSLRs by Nikon is they put that white balance control and all these other controls on the top left of the camera, which means if you're holding a camera and you need to make a change, you're having to pull the lens off, put it down, pain in the behind. There's enough buttons on the right hand side for me to assign a function to every one of those buttons to where I can make changes on the fly without ever removing my eye from the viewfinder. That is huge. That has saved me already a half a dozen times in the last 3 days alone. I didn't have to put the camera down to adjust white balance. I didn't have to put the camera down to change my metering on the camera. Just little things like that are huge. So ergonomics are a big plus over the Nikon D850. Let's circle back to video. The autofocus on the Nikon D850, when I was in video mode, had some weird stuff that was going on, especially when I was trying to just talk to the camera like this. There was this pulsating that happened behind the camera. It was annoying. A lot of times I would do several videos and didn't realize it happened until I got home and I had completely unusable footage. That will ruin your entire outing if you're trying to make a video and you need it to be out by Wednesday morning and you have to go reshoot an entire segment of your video. That's enough to make you want to throw that camera. One more thing about the video. When you're looking through the electronic viewfinder of these mirrorless cameras, specifically the Nikon, all you need to do is flip a switch, which is right there on the camera, right next to where your thumb is already at. It immediately goes to the camera. The autofocus point is right where you left it when you were in camera mode. It goes to video mode. And if you want to do continuous tracking with a single point autofocus, you can continue to track and focus on that bird. I've got plenty of examples of that where it worked absolutely perfectly. I just need to do a better job of panning with it. Once again, back to the Nikon D850, as great of a camera as it is, autofocus extremely cumbersome, especially in video mode. One thing I mentioned earlier is that my images aren't being blown up to billboard size. I'm not being published in magazines. I'm not hanging my images in galleries. So that 45 megapixels in the Nikon D850, it really didn't make that big of a difference to me. As much as I loved it and I loved looking at that resolution on the big screen, I would post it on Instagram and you couldn't tell the difference between that and the shots that I took with the Z6. I'll put a link to my Instagram and you can go back and see, and I'll label the images that were shot with the Z6 and the ones with the D850. You can't tell. You just can't tell the difference. So 24 megapixels is plenty enough for anyone photographing wildlife. In summary, no more DSLR, 100% mirrorless. I'm moving forward. I'm a late adapter. I know the mirrorless was released 2.5 years ago. I'm just now trying it out in the last few months, but I am a believer. I'm sorry to everyone in the past that I just doubted about the mirrorless system and how I said I'd never need it. I was wrong. Started a new chapter in my life, started YouTube, which, by the way, thank you for everybody that's been subscribing and watching my videos. It's been amazing. So, new chapter, guys, mirrorless. Tell me what you think. Leave the comments below. I love chatting with you guys. I appreciate it, and we'll see you the next time. How are you supposed to end a video? It's like, I don't know how to end a video.
Let's see, like, see you later.
See you later, alligator. So I need to go. Is there like a tutorial? Maybe there's a tutorial. Bye.
Or see you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile.
Yeah.
Catch you on the flip side. Adios, amigos.
Or.
Ciao.
Or. Bye.